Hey guys, welcome to Complete Web Application Step-by-Step tutorial. I am Ripon Datta. This is Module 13 Security. So in this tutorial, basically, I'm going to show you how to add login, logout, and other things in the application. So let's get started. Alright, now first check out the last development. Uh, in our last project we just added our some admin functionality, so you can create, add new product, edit or delete. Okay, so you might notice that anybody can get this link and he can add the product. Okay, because there is no admin controller, user controller. So this is basically admin controller. Add new product, edit or delete. This is basically based on the user controller. Okay, so we cannot give this link or this functionality to all user. So how can we restrict this admin control? So if we want to keep the admin control as authorized, so we have to use authorize attribute in above admin controller. So if we use authorize, that means all the controller which is index, create and edit, delete, whatever, should need the authorization. Now let's run the application again and let's see. Go to the admin index and you will see the page is not, I mean this is unauthorized. Okay, so nobody cannot use this. So this is our one of the requirement. So anybody cannot use this without authentication or authorization. All right, so what, first of all you have to go to the web config. So web UI and web config. In the web config, go to the system.web and there add authentication mode. In this case I'm going to use form authentication. Okay, and right, then in the authentication I have to use form, then login URL, or login URL is will be account controller, then login action, and we can set even timeout, and this is the basically how many minutes. So we can add 2880, which is for 8 hours, or it depends on you or on your application. Some application may need 5 minutes, some application may need 10 minutes. Okay, well, let's see 1 minute. All right, okay, now let's run again and let's see. Go to the admin index and you will notice that it will redirect to the other page. As you can see, it is going to the account controller, login, and this is basically return URL, admin index. So but unfortunately we do not create, we didn't create the account login yet, so we have to create it. So how can we create it? We have to go to the controller, add new controller, then empty MVC5 controller. This is account controller. So first I have to create a login view, and then this is basically HTTP GET method, but I have to create another method which is the login, but this is, you know, HTTP post. Okay, and account controller must be authorized. So authorize, otherwise anybody can use it, because may have other functionality like change password, okay, or other things, I mean forget password or whatever. So we have to have this account controller authorization, so authorized. But if we add attribute and in the controller level, that means this attribute is applied all the actions. But in the login action, we have to make this, I mean we have to allow for everybody, because first we have to go, I mean we have to have the login page so we can log in, then we can authorize. Okay, so here we have another attribute which is allow anonymous. Although the controller is authorized controller, but in the authorized controller we can use, if we need any unauthorized action, so we can use allow anonymous. And we have to create login view model, that's a model, and string which is return URL. So first of all we have to create login view model. Go to the model, right click, add class, and give the class name login view model. Okay, so the login view model should be something like that. And I just added the attribute required, which is, you know, basically this is called annotation. That means we are adding some restriction. That means username and password must be required. And even we can set what, we can set some message, error message, if the username is empty or null, then this message will be shown. Let's say username is required. Okay, similarly we can add the error message here, and even we can set the password length. So let's say error message password is required. Okay, then we can use string length. This is the maximum length. So maximum length, let's say 50. And we can even set minimum length. Okay, so minimum length is, let's say 6. All right, so what is, everything is okay. So we have to return the view and compile the application and see if there is any error. Bracket, first bracket is missed, a bracket which is where, oops, this bracket should be here. Okay, there is another error. Basically we have to, I mean we have to add reference for this login view model. So add this using a statement. Now we are fine. Yes. Okay, so what about, so first of all we have to check the model is valid or not. So model state is valid. If it is valid, then okay, otherwise this is invalid. So we can add return view here, and what else? If it is valid, then what we have to do? We have to check the username and password is okay with the database or not. If it is okay, then fine. That means we have to check it here. If we have to create some business functionality for this checking. If this is true, then this is, otherwise else what? We have to add some error, which is something like this. That means we have to add some error in the model state. So how can we check the username and password in the database? And one thing I want to say that we're using code first database. So go to the database and you will see we do not have any user table. Okay, so what we have to do is, first of all, go to the domain project. In the entities, we have to create a class which is user. So make it public, and in the user we have to create some property. First one is user ID, second one is password. Okay, but in your case you can add more functionalities like user ID, user what, email ID, user address, user first name, last name, whatever, and other properties as well. Okay, I just keep these things simple, so you can just get an idea how to create or how to add login functionality. But you can enhance it. If you can understand this tutorial, you can enhance it easily. All right, so this is our user model, and what we have to do is we have to create some implementation for getting getting data from the database, like as you can see, EF product repository. So using DB context. So go to the DB context. We have to create a DB set for user, and the properties name is users. Okay, this is done. Then what? I want to create an abstract or interface for user. So we can say I authentication. Okay, make it public. In the I authentication, I want to set some login or logout functionality, something like this: authenticate and logout. Okay, so we have to have the implementation and give the implementation name as, this is basically forms based authentication, so we can say forms authentication or form authentication provider. Okay, you may ask why I'm adding the authentication interface. We can directly add the form authentication provider, right? But I'm just giving a clue how can you extend your application. So if we have an interface for authentication, so we can implement form based authentications, and if you have any other implementation, so you can just implement the I authentication. So in this case your application will be extendable. Okay, so I want to implement I authentication. So first of all I have to add the using statement. Okay, then I have to add, I need to implement the methods. Okay, all right. So for logout, we just need to return what? Return true. Okay, boolean in this case. What about, okay, first of all we have to create private read-only variable which is basically ef db context. Let's say context equal new ef db context. Then what? Okay, we can use a var keyword here. So if you don't know what is var is basically, dynamic data type, so it depends on the statement. So for example, let's say result equal context dot users, yes, users first or default. So lambda expression which is u is user id, where user id equal username and u dot password equal password. Okay, so what can I do is I can break down this so you can easily look at. That means context from the database users first or default. First or default means if there is a row, so it will return, otherwise it will return null. Default means it will return null. Okay, where this is like where clause you user id equal you username and password equal this password. Then what we can check, if result equal null, that means there is no data for this username and password, then we can return false, this is not there. Otherwise we can return true, that means the user is in the database. So our implementation is ready. Now what we have to do is we have to in this case I want to say one thing, which is Ninject. We are using Ninject dependency injection or IOC controller, so we can get the dependency from controller. Okay, which is basically authentication. Let's say authentication. So we have to add the using statement, and we have to have the authentication, which is authentication, but both are same, so we have to use this keyword authentication equal authentication, because both the variable are same. So this authentication means this, this controller, this class. Okay, and equal authentication which is the parameter. Okay, so and we have to inject the dependency through Ninject. So go to the Ninject, and in the Ninject we have to add kernel bind what as authentication to what forms authentication provided. So in this case basically we have to add what abstract, which is already added there. So so this is not a concern right now because this is already there, the using statement for this. interface and implementation. Okay, so this is ready. Now we can check the our authenticate user. If authentication dot authenticate what model dot username and model dot password. Okay, so if this is true, whenever when it will be true, if the username and password is existed in the database, that means context, then it will not be null. That means if it is null, that means there is no record or data in the database. Then it will return false, otherwise it will return true. So if it is true, then what we can add form authentication dot set auth cookies. That means we are adding the username in the cookies, and we can redirect the return URL to the index. Okay, but for the form authentication we have to add using a statement which is using system.web.security. Okay, so at this time we can run the application. Let's try Ctrl F5. Oops, what is the error? Expected bracket, where is it? Expected bracket, where is the break? Yep, this is here. Okay, now let's try again. Build succeeded is going to our go to the admin.index, because this is our authenticated page, so it will return to the login view. Oh, I see. So what is the error? The error is basically we do not have what login view. So we have to create our login view. Right click, add view, and it's empty, and model is basically our login view model and admin layout. Okay, add. So in the login view, I'm just adding some HTML markup. This is nothing else, just some division with Twitter Bootstrap class, and what this is basically text box. This is for username, and this text box is for password, and there is a submit button for login. Okay, so we have created our view. Now let's run again. First of all, check the our default view, and it will be showing you some product. Okay, this is okay. Then go to our admin index, and it will, as you can see, the admin controller is authenticate, so you have to use your username and password, admin password. But here's the problem, because the context doesn't find the user table in the database, because still we do not have any table in the database, and we have to add the table in the database, as we are using our what our code based entity framework. So we have to add some functionality, we have to configure. So go to the tools then NuGet package manager, then package manager console. Okay, and type enable migrations. No context was found in the assembly because okay, we have because our context, as you can see, our context is in the domain project. This is our context, EFDB context, which is inherited from DB context. So we have to change the web UI to domain. Okay, then add again enable migrations. Yes, it is now checking the database. Okay, code fast migrations enable for project domain. This is our migration tool. Okay, and what we can do, we can do it directly from here, or we can just set automatic migration true. Okay, so we can make this true, right? Then what? Then we have to add another command, which is add migration what? Add migration initial. Okay, right. Then what? Then update database. And you will notice it will give you an error. No. Oh, the error is basically the product is already in the database. So we have to go to the migration and initial. As you can see, create table, because the table is already been there, so we don't have to create this table. So we can comment it, and what? And even we don't need to drop the table. Okay, so go to the application and apply the command again, which is update database. Yes, so our database is already been updated. Now go to the database and let's see our table is created or not. So table, then refresh. As you can see, our user table is already created. And what? User ID is the primary key and password. Why it is primary key? Okay, because this is the convention of entity framework, uh, which is basically user. So whenever the what property name is the table name with ID, that means this is that, and then this will be, entity framework will consider this property is, as primary key. Okay, if you use any other name, in this case you have to add key attribute, which is the data annotation. Okay, that means this is primary key. Okay, so as it is user ID, that means user table name, user class name plus ID. That's why if we don't mention the key, it will be automatically the primary key, which is, you can see there, this is the primary key. Okay, or okay, and If you don't have any idea about the data annotation, I will create another tutorial after all this tutorial about the data annotations, so don't worry. Okay, then what? So our table is created. Now we can run the application. So we can run the application again, Control F5, and we want to go to the admin. It will redirect you to the login page. Admin, let's say 123. Oops, this is the error. The field of password must be a string with a minimum of 6 and maximum of 50 because of what? Because I added this data notation in the here. Password is required and minimum length is 6 and string length, which is maximum, is 50. That's why you're getting this error. So let's try 1 2 3 4 5 6. Incorrect username and password, because entity framework didn't find that username and password in the database because we don't have the admin user in our database. So initially we can add our admin user in the database directly. In this case, one thing I want to mention this which is basically the password. In this case, I'm just using the password directly, but you can encrypt the password using MD5 or SHA, SHA3. I mean, there are a lot of method for creating encryption password, so you can use it, or I can create. If you need this tutorial about the encryption and decryption, you can write in the comment box, so I'll create for you the encryption and decryption. I mean, how to add encryption and decryption in your application. Okay, now let's try. So admin 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes, that means it is redirected to the our admin index. Okay, so I mean, now go to our product page and go to the admin page again. As you can see that it is not going to our login URL. Why? Because the page is already authenticated. Okay, but we cannot see the authenticate. I mean, at least if we have the admin or username in this place, so we can get the username here, right? So and we have to add the logout button here. So let's go to the application and here. So I'm adding this. We can add this in the admin layout here before the render body, or if you want to add this in the admin page level, view level, so you can add even here. Okay, so what we can do is it's better to add in the admin layout page. Okay. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to create HTML action link. The action link, it will be http context dot current dot what dot user dot identity dot name. This is the username, and what, and it will be going through our logout action in the account controller. Okay, so we can run the application and see how can we get this. Oh, I have to go to the admin index. Okay, the admin index. Oops, why it is the error there? Because we don't have any data here, so we have to check the database. I mean, we have to check the name first, then we can add. So what can we do is, initially we can check here. So let's say bar user name equal this one. Okay, so if username is what, uh, is null. Actually we have to add if the user is there, then we can add, because if the user is not there, the admin page will not shown there. It will all the time, it will redirect to the login URL. So if it is there, then we can add this. I mean, if it is true, I mean not null, then HTML action dot oops what username. Okay, and what is the error? Build everything is okay, but it is still showing an error. Why? Because Razor syntax, in the Razor syntax you have to add the bracket, even I mean in the if statement has only a single statement. Okay, now let's run. Go to our admin index. Oops, still there is a problem. What is the problem? What is the error? Error is view cannot be null. How it is null? Because if it is not null, that means it is returning some other value. So let's debug it. Admin index, then you will see, okay, this is just I mean empty string but not null. So you will see this is empty, but we are checking only the null. This is the reason for getting the error. So what can we do is username not equal empty or null. Okay, that means if the username is what, is empty or is null, that means it will not show the link. Okay, Control F5. Go to the admin. It is still there because actually the logic is failing because of this part, because we are using OR operator. Okay, so now I believe it will work. So Control F5 and go to the admin index. and let's set mean 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, but the problem is our username is not showing there. Okay, so how can we show this? Because this link is not going through, so we can add the h3 tag or division, and even we can add this is basic online shopping store. Then what? Then I have added a span class which is button, and pull right class will pull the button to the right side. Now we can see Ctrl F5, go to the admin section, then type admin 1 2 3 4 5 6. Yes, this is the pull right class for the what, from Twitter bootstrap class, a bootstrap css. Okay, and there is another thing which is coming from basically where, basically there. All right, now even we can add with name, let's say logout. We can refresh the page. Yes, admin logout. Okay, so what happened if we click logout? There is no action for the logout, so we have to create logout action. So go to the where, go to the account controller. In the account controller we can create action, an action which is result, which is basically logout. Okay, in the action logout, what can we do? A similar thing, if authentication authenticate. Without this, without the business functionality, we can do is, we can even do it using authentication dot logout, so it will return false, something like that. Okay, so we don't need this. We directly do it using form authentication. There is a method which is called sign out. That's it. And finally redirect to action which is index of which controller, admin controller. Okay, now let's see, Ctrl F5, and you will see, oops, I have to go to the admin index. From the admin index, it will go through the login. So admin password, so admin logout, and as it is added in the layout level, so you will see admin logout in all the pages, in all the admin, like edit page, add new product page, or delete page. Okay, so what about if I click admin logout? Yes, it is going through here admin account, and it is coming from the admin index. If we add admin id, user id and password, then it will go to the login, admin index. Okay, so this is very simple, and even you can redirect the page to the product index. Wherever you want, you can add this. Okay, this is very simple. Just you have to add, this is the action name and this is the controller name. That's it. So I believe you enjoyed this tutorial because there are a lot of things, and even you can add the default implementation of ASP.NET MVC or ASP.NET, which is account controller of ASP.NET. You can even use that one. So now you have to create, or you have to add the functionality for what? Change password. I just created login and logout method. Now you will create, this is your home task, which is uh, basically what? Change password. Okay, then what? Then forget password. Okay, so this is your task. You have to create these methods. If you can create this, you just write in the comment box, so I will create for you. But first you have to try this. I mean, you have to create, you have to at least try that, how to, I mean, you have to try to create change password functionality like this, similar thing. Change password, you have to add some, I mean, you have to add method in the authentication for what? For change password. Then you have to implement in the form authentication provider here. Okay, very simple. You can do it. I believe you can do it. But if you can do it, just write in the comment box. I will create for you. Okay, so this is very simple implementation. I mean, very simple how to add the login logout functionality in your application. So our application is almost ready. Okay, so in the online shopping store, even we can make it a link. So if we click the online shopping store, it will go through the, where it will going to our what, default page, which is basically there. Yep. So we can make this a strip. Okay, so it will be our what, when we can add using HTML action link. So in this HTML action link, this is the link name. Then it will go list to the product controller. Okay, now let's see. Okay, admin 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now click yes. So this is just simple thing. Just you can add admin index. All the time it will be there because I have added this code in the admin layout. All right. In this tutorial, basically, I have shown you the security part. In the next tutorial, I will show you how to deploy your application into the web server. In this case, I am going to use a real web server, so you can get a knowledge how to host your ASP.NET MVC web application into the web server. And finally, I will create some extra module for covering the some difficulty, because I'm getting some email and request to cover something like entity framework, some Twitter bootstrap class, and dependency injection, um, shopping cart, and PayPal integration, and so on. So I'll create those tutorials after deployment. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this tutorial. If you have any question, please write in the comment box, and I would like to have your feedback. It can be a positive feedback or If you can't, if you have a trouble, you can write it. Please write your feedback in the comment box. This is the link how can you connect to me, which is this is my personal website, which is www.rdatta.com, and you can write your feedback or your request in this link, which is r.com /u/your voice. And these are other website, and you can follow this website F6 build, code fee, and DIOC. And in the meantime, I will, if I create any more website, you will get all those websites from my personal website, which is www.r.com. So keep in touch and stay well.